What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're having a wonderful day out there. I feel like there's a little bit too much light. I actually have the window open as well, but I have my light here. Okay, either way, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me here on this long song Saturday. So many things happening here on the desk, where today we are going to be doing a full album listen of In the Flat Field by the band Bauhaus. I've looked it up, and I'm pretty sure I have their name pronounced correctly, so Bauhaus. This is their first and debut studio album recorded between 1979 and 1980. We've listened to one song from the band, Bela Lugosi, or Lugosi, it's dead, and that's it. So a few people had said to listen to this album, and so we shall do that. Some of you who had suggested this album would be Rydell Downward, Similimum, probably messed that up, Similimum. Let's go with that one. Falcon Gal, not the soaring kind, but the driving kind, because Falcon Gal is not reference to like a bird, it's a reference to a car. Okay, SD Gull's Psychedelic Payroll, which sounds cool. Jillian Allen, or Allen rather, I Just Need Myself as well, I believe you recommended this. And then Stephen Holberton. I think that's all. So thank you guys so much for the recommendation. Hope you're ready to sit down, enjoy the music, relax a little bit. That's it. That's it. So let's go ahead and take our ceremonial sip of whatever you're sipping on. That's good. Nice, pure, filtered water. Let's go ahead and begin with the first track, which is going to be Dark Entries. Here we go, guys. So let's get the first thing out of the way, which I already know a lot of you already hopped in the comments and mentioned this. I know, because I just realized this. As I was listening to the song, I went to go look at the lyrics and follow them, and I could not find like where he was singing, what he was singing. So here's what happened. So we just listened to Dark Entries, which, I mean, I'm using Spotify, and it had it as the first track. Technically, this is not the first track off the album. This is the first track off the 1988 CD reissue version. I like to follow the original version, which actually has Double Dare as the first track. That's what we'll listen to next, and we'll make sure that we follow the actual original track listing. So I apologize. This was not included on the actual original album, but on the reissue, this is where it came from. So I realized that only when I looked for the lyrics. I'm like, what he's saying isn't what I'm seeing. So there's something wrong. But regardless of that, let's talk about the unofficial opener to the album. First of all, Murphy's vocals I really enjoy. He has sort of this gloomy, punky, but at the same time very gothic-y kind of sound to him. That deep voice, kind of reminiscent of Ian Curtis. It's kind of all in that realm. I think that just has a great character here in the music. The drum pattern I thought was really fun to listen to as well. And you can listen to the energy from the drums and I would say the guitar, that it has that punk energy, but the darkness, the depth of it all brings it lower, and lower even still into that goth rock territory, which I think sounds absolutely wonderful. The bass playing is really great as well, not staying so stagnant, not staying so constant in like a boring momentum, but actually having some great movement in there also to boot. It's a really fun opener to the album, even though technically it's not really the opener to the album. But regardless, let's go ahead and look at the lyrics here. Caressing bent up to the jug again, with sheafs and pills invading all those stills. In a hovel of a bed I scream in vain. Oh, please, Miss Lane, leave me with some pain. Almost like he's maybe going under sort of operation and they're, giving him morphine or drugs to like numb him to the pain. But he's saying, no, leave a little bit of that. Leave a little bit of that. Went walking through the city's neon lights in fear of disguising my warping, seething pressure lines. Among confident airs, intangible of price, trying so hard to find what was right. I came upon your room, it stuck into my head. We leapt into the bed, degrading even lice. She took delight in taking down my shielded pride until exposed became my darker side. Puckering up and down those avenues of sin, too cheap to ride, they're worth a try. If only for the old times, cold times, don't go waving your pretentious love. Sounds like a very poetic way of just describing their little rendezvous. He's soliciting on his tan brown brogues. Never even heard of that word. What's a brogue? No, we gotta investigate. A type of shoe. Okay, it's a low-heeled shoe or a boot. Okay, tan brown brogues. Okay, gyrating through some lonesome devil's row, pinpointing well-meaning upper-class prey of walking money checks possessing holes. He sleekly offers his services, exploitation of his finer years' work. Hung with loosely woven fabrics of office clerks, any lay suffices his eye. He's making a list of his exploitations. Let's move on into the next track, which is technically the opener of the album. We're gonna try as our very best to follow the actual original track listing now. So let's do that with now the real first track. That was just a bonus. That was just a little appetizer. Let's go ahead and listen to the opening track, Double Dare. Here we go. This opens the album. Listening to this track, there is four words that come to mind when I'm listening to this. Call of the Void. The Call of the Void is when you look into the abyss looks back at you, and you are just drawn in, sucked into that deep, dark hole of eternal and endless darkness. That's what I'm hearing here. It is brilliantly hypnotic, darkly tempting, and it just sucks you in, and it does not let you go. Even as the final notes with that clitter-clatter begin to drift away, it holds you, and it tightens its grip upon you like Revocation. Some of you will get that reference. I want to talk about Daniel Ash. His guitar, that is the eye of the abyss. From the very beginning, with that deeply distressing and disturbing riff, and then the way that it's already heavy, and then at one moment it just takes a turn. It's like, oh, we're going even deeper, darker, and heavier. And with the slow rhythm, that slow mantra of the vocals as Peter Murphy kind of calls out and barks out. I mean, that is really cool. The way that they've brought this sound together is just really interesting to listen to, because its atmosphere isn't necessarily in melody. It has a different kind of atmosphere that's built in space and in the shadows, you know? This feels like, I don't know, kind of like The Cure in a sense, but just like more devilish, grittier, monstrous, gloomy, something. There's something very rugged and gritty about listening to this track. That was good, though. That was really good. Great opening, I'll tell you that. I dare you to be real, to touch a flickering flame, the pangs of dark delight. Don't cower in night fright. Don't back away just yet from destination set. I dare you to be proud, I dare to shout aloud, for convictions that you feel, like sound from bells to peal. I like that. I like the first opening, the lines, I dare you to be real. Be real, true to yourself, honest with yourself. And he says to touch a flickering flame. Then he encourages, don't panic, don't pull back, engage with it. And then he mentions, don't back away from destination set. This is actually a very hopeful and kind of inspirational way of writing, especially compared to the dreariness of the actual music itself. Like, don't back away from your goals just because there may be some pain. You have to continue your journey. You have to move past that. And through that, you're going to be even more, I guess, trial through flame, you know. There's a phrase. Like, what was that phrase? Basically, you come out stronger on the other side. Then he continues to say, I dare you, I dare you. And Peter just has such a cool range. He has that like strong baritone, dark voice, but then near the end, he's kind of barking it out. There's almost a pseudo growl in there at certain moments. like it. I like where this is going. So let's go ahead and move on to the next track, which is the title track, In the Flat Field. Here we go.
Drag on me into the chasm gaping we.
So I think that atmospheric sound that I was mentioning with the space, I think a better way to describe it is hollow. There's a certain kind of hollowness to their sound. Not in a negative way, not in a con of the album or the song so far, but it adds this kind of tension, I would say, into the album. You know what? In a way, not exactly, so it's not a one-to-one, but it's just kind of where my mind goes. It reminds me of Peter Gabriel 3, Melt, where it also has this kind of hollow sound to it. Obviously, this is in a completely different direction, but that's kind of what I'm getting. Like, that same flavor is basically what I'm getting. Like, if you were to take, I don't know, tuna, or if you were to take sushi and, like, oven-baked salmon, like, yeah, it's cooked differently, but I feel like that source, the fish, the meat, is the same. And then listening to it. That's what I meant. I love the addition of him kind of moaning ghostly over the music at the end there, because that added a little bit of this weird melodic phrasing to the music, where not that it was necessarily lacking, but it definitely isn't what I would say is like a sweetly melodic piece, right? No, we're still continuing down that long and dark path, but that moaning adds a certain kind of beauty to it. Like walking alone up in the woods at night is scary, but then the moon is shining above you. It's still a little eerie, but at least there's some sort of celestial illumination to light your path, and it adds this kind of mystique to the music. That's what I'm feeling that Peter Murphy's vocals, specifically at the end, are adding to the music. The drumming, however, that drumming pattern is absolutely wonderfully insane. The drums are going to be played by, hold on, I gotta find their names, Kevin Haskins. Love how it just begins with that roll and just continues that throughout. And it's a very tightly compact type of drumming that just sweetly rolls out the fog. Fog machine is gently rolled out for us, and everyone else continues to play on top of that and bring the noise, so to speak. And then I would even say, in a way, the lyrics, I mean, and the music especially, are kind of going along with this line, not the line, but the title of In the Flat Field. Let's dive into that. A gut pull drag on me into the chasm gaping we. Mirrors multi-reflecting this, I like the way he's writing that, between spunk-stained sheets and odorous whim. Camera eye flick shutter within, assist me to walk away in sin. That's a really cool, like, I feel like he's just talking about the numbness of life, which he engages in later on as we get further on, but as I'm getting. Where is the string that Theseus laid? Find me out this labyrinth place. Of course, Theseus in the labyrinth, the Minotaur, you know, the whole string that whatever her name was that gave him the string said, here, you can find your way out. He used it, got his way out. You know, that whole thing. So he's looking for that string. He's finding himself lost in a maze, a labyrinth, and he cannot find his way out. He's looking for his string. Really, really great writing. I get bored in the flat field. Yin and yang, lumber punch, go taste a tart, then eat my lunch, and force my slender, thin, and lean in this solemn place of fill wedding dreams, of black matted lace of pregnant cows, as life maps out onto my brow. The card is lowered in index turn, into my filing cabinet hemisphere spurn. I gotta tell you, the lyrics are so nicely written. It is pure poetry. If you took this and gave it to anyone else, like just put it out in a poetry book or something, like this is really just poetry put into song. I really like the line, as life maps out onto my brow. You know, of course, wrinkles onto your brow, and life is making him anxious and making him feel older, and you know, it's making him nervous or anxious and stuff, and so it's showing on his brow. Let me catch the slit of light for a maiden's sake on a maiden flight. In the flat field I do get bored, replace with Piccadilly whores. In my yearn for some cerebral fix, transfer me to that solid plane. Hammer me into blazing pain, molding shapes no shame to waste, and drag me there with deafening haste. A flat field. A field that is flat, it's featureless, it is boring. That's what he's feeling about life. He doesn't care where he goes, just as long as there's some interest. Even if there's pain involved, get me out of the flat field. Like he says, transfer me to a solid plane. Hammer me into a blazing pain. He doesn't matter which way. Just get him out of this limbo. What is it called? You got to forgive me on this because I'm not strong with like, religious and stuff. Like, I don't know what is purgatory? Is that like, kind of just like floating out there? I really don't know. But like that's kind of like the middle ground, right? I feel like this flat field is in a sense his purgatory. He's just kind of existing without good or bad when he wants to at least feel something, basically. All right, let's move on to the next track here, which is going to be A God in an Alcove. Here we go. Why didn't you know this?
Once he spread the rain, so they dreamt in vain. Once he spread the weed and his crimes, that's all they had to draw the line. So they said, he's a god. So silly.
What a cool song that was. Okay, so I love how, remember how I've been talking about the production, right? And the hollowness of it, blah, blah, blah. I like how, this maintains that. But at the very end, when they like come up into that big jam, everything changes. The drums become just that more snappier. Everything comes up more. And I love how that fills in. That takes away the hollowness that we've heard before and just throws everything to the wall. So I don't know who's producing it, but the production is really, really stand out on here because actually going back to the previous tracks that we've heard, it does have that hollowness that kind of gives it a little bit of a, this probably sounds bad, but I don't mean in a bad way, like an antiquated sound or an amateur sound. But there's just enough polish to make it more palatable, I guess you could say. Because this could have definitely been more of a lo-fi release. I don't even know if this is like a remix or whatever I'm listening to, but you can definitely imagine this being a more rough cut, amateur-ish kind of production, not to take away from the musicianship and what they're doing, but it would just give it a different sort of edge. But it's just cleaned up enough, just enough not to take away too much of the dirt, but perhaps to sand away just a few of those audio edges, I guess you could say. And I think that this track is actually a great showing of the bouncing back and forth between the two. The bass playing throughout so far has been really fantastic, but let's actually bring their name up so I can talk about them. David J. on the bass playing. I like how there's moments where he throws in, almost to me, it's like this disco-esque sound. Like when he goes in the back and forth, what I say is like rubber band, like that back and forth part, and then he goes right back into the melodic move and everything. That's just a great sense of melody and rhythm that he has, which a bass player, of course, has to have, but he has it in spades. That's really, really good. The singing, once again, which it does seem that more people are involved besides just Peter Murphy on here. That is just there's such charisma in the singing. Just in the different ways of approaching the vocal lines, to give it character, to give it feature. It's not in a flat field. The vocals and the delivery are definitely not flat. They are enhanced, they are hilly, they are going in so many different directions, from mountaintop epics into valley lows and growls and everything in between. I think the vocals are a very strong aspect of the album so far, along with everything else, of course, but just really cool. And the opening to this track almost sounded like it could have gone into like a folk western direction, but in their still gothic-y rooted ways. That would have been kind of cool to hear. I like where they went, but it definitely sounded like it was going to go in a slightly different direction. Let's look at the lyrics because they seem kind of interesting. Go and look for the dejected, once proud, idol remembered in stone aloud. Then on coins his face was mirrored. Take a look, it soon hath slithered. To a fractured marble slab renunciation clad, his nourishment extract from his subjects, that mass production profile. He's a god in an alcove. So what I kind of view that as is like an idol of like a god in an alcove, right? Where people would go up to worship, lay the garlands and stuff, whatever it may be, right? But it's interesting, like the first line, go and look for the dejected, once proud, idol remembered in stone aloud. Like, in a way, he was once something, but now he's been, what's the word? I guess, lowered down to just a stone, like just an idol in an alcove, basically. Once he spread the rain, so they dreamt in vain. Once he spread the wheat, had made garlands for his feet. Until the lily poet of our times horizoned on the line, love became the in theme then, opposing fakers thrice by 10. Don't perceive his empty plea, that redundant effigy he is a god in an alcove. Take in view his empty stool, what's left is satin cool. Clawing adornment for his crimes, they saw they had to draw the line. So they sent him far away to a little alcove all alone, he's a god. Now I'm silly. Like he's been reduced to a joke kind of way, right? They sent him far away, something like that. And then he repeats, now I am silly, now I'm silly. And I feel like that changes perspective now to that god. Like, now I'm nothing. Now I'm just a piece of rock in an alcove. That's it. Before I used to spread the wheat, the rains and everything, but now look at me. Back of the bus. Let's move on to the next track here, which is Dive. Here we go. I mean, there's that disco-esque bass line. That beeping sound. Was that saxophone right at the end there? I barely heard it. Maybe it was there the whole time. Okay, the bass line there. Come on. I had just referenced disco, and you're going to give me a bass line like that? Like, with that rise in there? Come on now. Get off my dance floor. The energy is just off the charts here. Everybody going off. There's some strange beeping Rolodex kind of weird sound in there. I have no idea what that is. It sounds kind of cool. It almost adds this B-52s-ness to it. And just in the musical department, just with those little beeps, but that's, I don't know what it is. I'm assuming a synth or maybe something they did after in production. It sounds kind of cool. The drumming, just hitting it. This is a quick, fun in and out. I have no idea what it's about. I was following the lyrics the whole time. I don't know, but it's a fun in and out. It's a dive. It's a quick dive. We're going down to the Kamakazi Dive. Fishnet, leatherette, pussy galore, pseudo sumo wrestler on the door. Dangerous dances, the dragon's claw. K-tel oriental, the monkey's paw. You're dead, I said you're dead. You're a dead ringer for Madame Butterfly. Snappy little fingers stitch my thigh. You're so necromantic, venomous and vain, mixing Molotov cocktails in the subterranean. I said you're dead. I have no idea what this is about. We're going down to the Kamakazi Dive like insects to a Chinese lantern now. We're feeling so alive. What's showing? I have no idea. I'm trying to figure out, I mean, like they're going to a bar? Like an Asian themed bar or something? But maybe it's a reference to something I don't know. I don't know. I'm assuming like a dive bar or something like that, but I don't know. Like they're going clubbing. That's the best I can do. That's the best I got. Let's move on to the next track, which is the final track on side A, Spy in the Cab. Here we go. I like this.
Sick function to pride.
There's your paranoia. You know, a lot can be done with such a simple rhythmic background. Just the constant boom, 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 and then the burp, boom, 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 burp, and then everything else that goes around it. And it's not a lot. There's not a lot of adornment on this particular flower, and yet it does bloom in its own peculiar way. This is such a great melancholic atmosphere that they have built. There's an atmosphere of being watched, an atmosphere of being paranoid, and that is definitely expanded upon at the very end, where the guitar comes in with so much like interference, just scratching it up, like that. Actually, like scratching it up. It's like, and then out of that, you have the "I spy with my little eye." They don't say it, but that is what's repeated. And there's almost this childlike voice that comes in at the same time. So I don't know if that's Peter or someone else just doing the voice. And then that continually is pitched up. The tension is brought up, and then it eventually just breaks and de-escalates there at the end. That is really cool. I really like that bouncing back and forth once again between the boom, 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 and just that constant growth. And those moments where it drops out at the end of the line and the guitar comes in the first time with a little bit of a riff, like just a little playfulness, and then the next time with a little bit of a coming down, I thought was kind of nice, almost foreshadowing the emptiness that we would feel as it goes on. And that moment where the bass came in as well was just it's a small moment, but as I say, the small moments make the whole picture, right? That's what I say, right? Hidden in the dashboard, the unseen mechanized eye. Under surveillance, the road is full of cat's eyes. Its sick function to pry the spy in the cab, coldly observing, callously reserving a driver's time, automated autonomy playing on his mind, the spy in the cab. An eye for an eye, a spy for an eye. I like that. Spying, using your eyes as a spy. A 24-hour unblinking watch, installed to pry, installed to cop. So, and then of course the spy, I spy with my little eye. So I feel like this is like a Big Brother type of situation. Like no matter where you are, you're being watched, which, you know, you kind of are. but like no matter what, you're being watched, you're being observed, you're under surveillance. And of course they're comparing it to a spy in the cab. I guess nowadays you could say like a spy in your pocket. Like something like that, you know? Which I think is kind of cool, the way that they have that written. Now, let's go ahead, my friends, and I can't say foes because I ain't got none. But my friends and everyone else, my friends and followers, let's do that. Friends and followers, let's go ahead and move on into the second side of the album, starting off with the track. Hold on, I gotta pull it up and make sure we're following the correct order here because we didn't do that in the beginning. We're moving on to the next track, Small Talk Stinks. I gotta say, one thing I really enjoyed when I was in Switzerland is they don't do a lot of small talk. I don't like a lot of small talk. I like to get right down to the meat. Take off the bread, the lettuce, the tomato, the cheese. Leave the mayonnaise and the rest of the condiments. But let's get to the turkey. All right, let's get... Here we go, guys.
Talking up to his roof on drag. He says he loves you with flowers. Small talk stinks. Small talk stinks.
They're getting the point across.
Said it stinks. Small talk stinks.
Okay. Small Talk Stinks. First song on the second side of the album, and the band has shown us a completely different direction. They make this kind of jazz swingy song, which I got in the beginning, but then they still keep it close to themselves. They still keep the heart, the turkey meat inside the band, right? They still have that dark guitar riff there, which somehow they make it work. They make it work brilliantly. Peter is doing his darndest as a jazz swinger and an MC in the way that he kind of moves the carnival around here. You know what? Okay, listening to this reminds me of a completely different band, but has a similar kind of sound. Have you guys ever listened to Diablo's Swing Orchestra? If you haven't, go check them out. They combine, I mean, yeah, kind of as the name implies, metal and like swing or jazz and like that style really well. They actually do a really great job blending it together. But I'm getting like a flavor of that here. Obviously, Diablo Swing Orchestra came much later than Bauhaus, but just throwing it out there. Like that is just really cool how they brought that out. And to put that kind of music with a quick, easy to get message, Small Talk Stinks. They hate small talk. In the back, you hear radio chatter or whatever it sounds like. And I feel like that's what small talk sounds like to him or to the band. Like it just sounds like noise and radio chatter in the background. Like let's snappity pop, get to it, daddy-o. I don't know why I said that. Small Talk Stinks. See the young man in his new gown talking up his bouffant drag. He says he loves you with flowers, something that he's never had. I like this part. A sentence should be like a serpent, quick with the sting in its tail. String me a line that has meaning and depth. There's no small talk with walkie-talkies. He said, give me the veggies. You whisper sweet nothings, chit, chat, back chat. There's no idle gossip in braille. Talking combs 3 times a day, or taking combs 3 times a day, twice an hour. Identikit cute lips from wall to wall, standing in line for the photo call. See the young man in his new gown talking up his bouffant tribe. There's a lot of references in here I don't understand, but what I do understand, it ain't about that small talk. He wants it just like talking on a walkie-talkie. You don't have all the time for the back. Just give me the details. Give me the veggies. That's all I want. Let's move on into the next track here. Give me the veggies. The Rock and Fast and Furious. Saint Vitus, or Saint Vitus? Let's do Saint Vitus. No, that sounds wrong. Saint Vitus. Vitus. Saint Vitus dance. Here we go.
Back in the good old days when dancing meant exploding, the idea was simple for a decent overloading.
They come up with some really fun sounds in here. I don't know. The song is very bouncy, and the way that Peter's singing in the verses, it's almost like slightly off kilter. It's like he's not trying to stay perfectly in frame. Like with the music, he goes off a little bit and on a little bit. It kind of reminds me of like a salesman or like a narrator that's just kind of speaking over the music, but he's kind of staying in line with it, sort of, which is actually really cool. I like how that kind of breaks up, I guess, the monotony in a sense, or the predictability of the music. I think that sounds really cool. I don't know if it's Ash on the guitars or someone else doing keyboards, but there's a lot of other sounds that are kind of going around here, which, listening to those sounds, whether it's, I'm assuming, synth or keyboard, that alongside the way that Peter was singing here, it reminded me of Fred Schneider from the B-52s, and sometimes the way that he sings. I don't know exactly, I mean, they had to be somewhat contemporaries looking at the years, but maybe, I'm not saying there was, but maybe there was some influence in some direction there. Because that's what I was kind of getting, like a very, very minute hint of B-52s, but in, of course, their Bauhaus's darker shades. And then at the end, Peter just goes off with what I can only describe as barking and some other sounds. I don't know, he goes off in his own direction. Let's see. Back in the good old days when dancing meant exploding, the idea was simple for a decent overloading. And for a multiple flash with no cords attached, he came up with a more remote flash trigger. It's connected to an accessory to his hip, which fires automatically in perfect synchro. But perhaps his most exciting development is his angle. They call it the dance. It's the Saint Vitus dance. Such flexibility, what an accessory. See his soft bounce. So let's look up who is Saint Vitus. And I'm probably not even saying his name correctly. Let's see. He is... hold on. According to his legend, he died during the... No, I can't even say that word. I don't even know how to say that. So hold on. There's some sort of dancing. In Germany, his feast was celebrated with dancing before his statue. This dancing became popular, and the name Saint Vitus dance was given to the neurological disorder Sydenham's chorea. I don't even know what that is. It also led to Vitus being considered the patron saint of dancers and of entertainers in general. Okay, that makes sense. Like the dancing Saint Vitus dance. Okay, because people were dancing before his statue. Okay. Sydenham's chorea. What is that, though? It's a disorder characterized by, I'm reading off Wikipedia, characterized by rapid, uncoordinated, jerking movements, primarily affecting the face, hands, and feet. So, are they saying, like, the condition was the dance, and there's, like, something between the two? Is that what they're kind of getting at in the song? I'm going back to the lyrics now. And for special effects, he has 6 filters, 3 colored red and others pilfered. And if you really want to know what that means, he could throw a blue flash from 85 feet. Because you might want to check out your own little output, so we devised a few simple and easy to crack contortions, so you can bump and scrape all the day through with the dance. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, they're obviously talking about the dance here on the song, and maybe they're also referencing the condition as well. because they're all just talking about dancing, basically. It's all about dancing, which I cannot. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track then, which is going to be Stigma To Martyr. Let's go there. Some opera. I do like this come up. That's a Sabbath riff.
Reverence and holy remembrance and scarlet bliss.
Scratch. Okay. Stigma To Martyr. So I was going to say at about halfway through the track that this may be one of my favorite tracks on the album. I was about to say that. Just on a pure audio level, when the squeaking, scraping guitar sound came in at 3/4 of the way through, it was just audibly painful. Like I almost like took my headphone off like this, basically. Like it was just so like I just don't like that sound. It's just like nails on a chalkboard to me. So when he started doing that, and when that continued through the rest of it, I was like, ugh, I just don't like it. Just don't like that sound. Besides that, the riff from Ash was really, really great. Oh no, I had to clap that. That was pretty much metal, right? It sounded like a Sabbath riff. Just had it in his back pocket the whole time. Decided to put it down on the table. Said, "Antsy up." And I like how at one moment the bass playing came in and doubled upon that riff, and then when it moved into, I want to say, the second verse, the guitar actually kicked rocks and the bass stayed filling in that groove and that riff, which I thought was a really cool decision. Kind of had a full effect in the beginning and then gave it that hollowness that we've been used to in parts of the album later on. I thought that was a really cool way of diversifying the way that the song was going to move. And then, of course, the vocal delivery is just everything here. And listen, by this point, right, I can definitely see how the vocals may be off-putting, but to me, they're very, very cool to listen to. He has this very theatrical way of singing and yelling and shouting, and he's not afraid to go to places where maybe his voice isn't quite meant to journey. He's not afraid to hop over the fence, cross the no trespassing sign into territories unexplored, at least for him, and explore them. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. But I do like the experimental way that he approaches that. And I think that overall it comes across very, very awesome. That's the best I can describe it. But yeah, that scraping sound, it ain't for me, bruh. Let's move into the lyrics here. In a crucifixion ecstasy, lying cross-checked in agony, stigmata bleed continuously, holes in head, hands, feet, and wheat for me. Stigmata, oh you sordid sight, stigmata in your splintered plight, look into your crimson orifice in holy remembrance and scarlet bliss. Okay. I don't remember exactly because I'm going to be honest. Let's go on a quick journey. Stigmata, I know that has something to do with, like, I think Jesus and either whipping or the holes in his hands. I'm assuming the holes because of the lyrics. But the only idea that I have of the word stigmata is because when I was a kid and Blockbuster was still a thing, I went to Blockbuster one day and I saw a movie, I guess, like, displayed on the display case at Blockbuster, and it was called Stigmata, and it was like a horror movie, I guess. I had no interest in horror movies at the time. Definitely not. Obviously, now. But that's literally all I know. I don't even know what it was about. I don't even know. So I think it's like a sign of like your hands bleeding or something like that, right? A stigmata is a mark on the skin. Reported cases of stigmata take various forms. Many show some or all 5 sacred wounds that were, according to the Bible, inflicted on Jesus during his crucifixion. Wounds in his wrist, wrist and feet, and in the sides. Okay, so that's what it's supposed to be, which works with the lyrics there. Okay, I got you now. That's a really interesting way to describe that. Look into your crimson orifice. In nomine Patri et Filii Spiritus Sanctum, which I can't remember, in the name of God. I think that's in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy. Right? Am I right? The woman's moaning plus the chanting of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Ha ha! Got it. I knew. Sometimes I remember some things and sometimes I don't. Let's go ahead and move on into the final track of the album, which is going to be the longest track, also coming in at 7 minutes, and that is going to be Nerves. Hope you don't get on them. Hope I don't get on yours. Let's go.
The vans tick. Those like steel.
It's an interesting break here at this point. Listen, they put you to the test. You got nerves like nylon or you got nerves like steel. And they put you to the test at the end. Have you guys watched IT Crowd? It's one of, like, to me, the best comedies, best shows ever, right? If you have watched IT Crowd, the ending there is reminding me of the "Are you stressed? Are you stressed, Jen? Are you stressed?" of that. If you know, you know. That's all I gotta say. Oh man, they definitely break the tension that had been built throughout this whole album in this big grand way there. The inclusion of the piano and the way it's playing is kind of funny, very off kilter, very odd in a way. It just kind of like tinkling here and there in the music, which is kind of funny, especially because of the way that the big intro riff came in once again with a big kind of methodical metal riff, and then for it to back off completely, be replaced with the piano doing that in its light tingly kind of way, and then for Peter to start singing. It's just funny because, like, you're going from this swarm of, like, just oppression on that riff, and then it just goes that scattery piano. This is obviously, like I said, the longest track on the album. It's definitely their epic and their culmination here. And I think that it's good. I also think that it didn't really need to be 7 minutes. If I'm tossing it out there, while I like the sound of it, I also don't really feel like it needed to be 7 minutes. It didn't really go anywhere. That's just me being, like, too harsh, basically. That's me being, like, overly judgmental. But I was like, I was ready for it to be done at a certain point, is basically what I'm saying. But it kept going. I was fine with it, but I'm just being picky. I'm just being picky on it. Nerve ends tick in flicker book animation. One eye's closed in fear, anticipation. Will it stay shut? Will it ever open? What if? What if? Telltale tongues look at seven senses. Brittle spittle sparks, you are defenseless. The fabric of dreams is ripped apart as you feel the twist of the shadowed dagger in your pumping heart. That's a visual. A trail of random cutlery cuts, a dash in the concrete underpass. Sense of serenity is shattered in the glint of splintered glass. Nerves, and then the nerves like nylon, nerves like steel parts. So I think he's really just describing how really at any moment, even in the quietest moments, your most peaceful moments, when you're just feeling serene and tranquil, things can change, things can happen, and all of a sudden your moment of peace is broken like a pane of glass, and all of a sudden your nerves are put to the test. Do you have those nerves of steel, and will they stand through any sort of trial? Or do you have nerves of nylon, and they just break like nothing? That's what I kind of feel like it's about. That's what I'm thinking. Anyways, that is the end of the album. Thank you as always for watching with me. My favorite tracks on the album, I would say, is probably going to be... I did really enjoy the atmosphere of Spy in the Cab. If it wasn't for that scratchy part, I'd also put Stigma To Martyr on there. Let's put it like this. Double Dare, Spy in the Cab, and then Stigma To Martyr. Stigmata would be my top if it wasn't for the scratchy. And then under that, I would probably go Spy and then Double Dare. I think I feel confident in saying that. Those are my top 3 tracks on the album. Now, I could end the video right there and go into the spiel of, if you like the video, press the like button, blah, blah, blah. But just in a moment of transparency, just to at least let you guys know and be honest, this is one of those albums that I enjoyed listening to, and I'm glad that I experienced it. But if I'm just being upfront, I can't see myself listening to it on my own again. It's not like it's not the type of sound or album that I would personally like on my own time and personal time listen to. This doesn't discount whatever other albums they have. Just for this album, like I would never turn it off if it came on, but I'm not gonna like after I, end the video, I'm not gonna like, okay, let me go add this to my playlist and like listen to this again and again. I may listen to it again, but I'm not like seeking it. I think you guys know what I mean. Sometimes there's an album like, okay, I'm glad I listened to it, but I'm like, I'm kind of done with it now. So I don't feel it with this album, but it wasn't bad. I don't want you to take that and say like it's a bad album. No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience of it, but it's not the sound I really listen to a lot right now. Anyways, but that could change. Now I can go into my spiel. Press the like button if you enjoyed the video. Thank you as always for spending your Long Song Saturday with me. Well, my Long Song Saturday. You're just Saturday. But thank you for spending with me. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, press the like button. Subscribe on Patreon, $2 a month. That's it. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.